Hey there, welcome to Factually. I'm Adam Conover. Thank you so much for being on the show again. You know, I've been doing comedy for a couple decades now, unfortunately, and it's changed a lot in the time that I've been doing it. We have seen the death of cable television and the rise of social media, and with that, comedy itself has changed. You know, as a stand-up comic, that's one of the kinds of comedian I am, you used to be able to just put out a special every couple years and tour in the meantime. But now you have to constantly be posting new clips on social media that you don't get paid for just to promote your live appearances. And that has fundamentally changed the art form of stand-up comedy in some ways, because now stand-up comics have to mold the material that they're doing to meet the demands of this new form of media. Likewise, the connection of politics and comedy have changed a great deal. It used to be that people would say that like conservative stand-up comedy doesn't even exist, whereas now some of the biggest comedians in the country had the former president, now current president, on their podcast and endorsed his run for the presidency. And that is, again, a big change in the role that comedy plays in the American landscape. Well, you know, one comedian who I've always really admired the way he handles both of those changes is Gianmarco Soresi. He's on the show this week. If you're a comedy fan on the internet, you've probably seen his clips, his YouTube appearances, his podcast. The guy is all over the place. He's incredibly funny. I'm really thrilled to have him on the show this week to talk about how comedy has changed and how comedians can meet this political moment, if that's even something we're supposed to do, especially as regards, some other countries' devastating foreign wars / genocides. We're going to get into it. Before we do, I want to remind you, if you want to support the show and all the conversations we bring you every single week, head to patreon.com/Adam Conover. $5 a month gets you every episode of the show ad-free. You can also join our online community. We'd love to have you. And if you want to come see me do stand-up comedy myself, live on the road, coming up soon on October 5th, I will be at the Lodge Room in Los Angeles, California. On November 15th, I'll be at the Bell House in New York City for New York Comedy Festival. I'm also going to be in Brea, California, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Des Moines, Atlanta, Georgia, a bunch of other great cities as well. Head to adamconover.net for all those tickets and tour dates. I would love to come see you out on the road. And now let's get to this week's interview with Gianmarco Soresi. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here on YouTube to talk about what it's like to be a comedian on YouTube. Every comic I know is so upset all the time about what has happened to comedy. You do well. I feel like are doing it as better than most people. You've figured out how to do comedy, honestly.
I don't know if I'm upset. I always say, like, whenever people long for the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson or whatever, or those days where you could be seen and known and your talent would thrive, I go, that's because you're only hearing from the comics who got that show. Back in the day, in the different day, you did not hear from the comedian that the booker of the Tonight Show didn't like.
Yeah, good point.
You're not reading all the books from the women who never got booked on the Tonight Show because they couldn't get booked at the Comedy Store.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's more fractured, but there were many problems back in that other day too. So I don't idolize the past.
Yeah.
I think it all sucks.
Yeah. There was that thing years ago where like the Letterman booker got fired because he just said, he's like, yeah, I don't book women. and they were like, oh, you're fired now. And he's like, oh,
and they
man,
said it
what?
like that too. Like you can't say that out loud.
Like, Eddie, man, don't say that you're not doing it. Just do it. You know? I absolutely. And look, the industry's full of people who want to stand. They want to set up a gate and stand by it and like let people in or not. You know, and that there will always be injustice in that. But to some extent, I'm still like, well, at least that used to be like a person. Like you could fire Eddie. You can't fire the Instagram algorithm.
Sure.
You know?
I don't disagree. It's just like I was an actor before I was a stand-up comedian. Like I went to college for musical theater, and I very much felt the gates being closed in my face as an actor. And I mean, in the sense of like, couldn't get enough auditions to even find out if I could get in there. And, you know, maybe lack of talent, maybe not good looking enough, whatever. But I felt what it was to be on the other side of the gatekeepers so intensely, so much so that I pivoted careers. And I look at what I've been able to do with the chaos that is social media. And I go, of the two, I prefer the latter. At least I can do something.
Yeah.
And I think like it has deteriorated so many things and stretched everyone out too thin, and maybe made it harder for talent to rise to the top. But it allows you, if you have a work ethic, to at least get a shot.
What I like about the way you do it is you at least do it joyfully. So many comics who are putting stuff on social media, it's like someone is holding a gun to their head and forcing them to do a front-facing camera video.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer. And they really are going, I wish I could just do stand-up, or I wish I didn't have to like produce these clips. You at least look like you've found a way to do it where you're having fun doing it.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I liked in the beginning, like I liked editing clips. I enjoy, there's some kind of flow state that I would enter with editing, and getting a little bite-sized morsel of a Crowdwork clip or whatever, or having a sudden thought and wanting people to see it. So I definitely tapped into what I liked. Did I like Man on the Street? No, I tried. It was awful for me. It wasn't in my soul.
I hate doing Man on the Street.
Oh, it's the feeling of I could never even bark people into shows. I just go, I am being such a burden to this person. They do not want to talk to me.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
The feeling of impoliteness, or like I'm tense with an audience when I get the sense the audience doesn't want to be there. Like those ambush shows I would start, I would do starting out, where it's like you're in a bar and a show starts, and the people who were in the bar didn't know there was going to be a show, and they're just annoyed that someone set up a microphone. Like that vibe is death.
It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
But I found what I liked, I don't know. I have a lot of friends who have working together for a decade or so, and they hated social media in the beginning. And I to me, if I'm being like harsh, I go, that's like saying you hate email. It's like, that's fine, but then you need to readjust what you're expecting out of life. If you don't want to participate, if you want to be Amish, don't expect to travel faster than other people. Like you have to, make the best reigns. I don't know.
I mean, I do feel that way sometimes, where I'm like, look, if you were on, TV in the 70s, you were doing, as a person who makes what goes on the media platform, all you can do is try to feed the beast, That's all like what George Carlin was doing when he was going on, daytime variety shows over and over again, developing an act for that. And that's what we're doing now. This is media. If your dream is to be someone who performs in the media, then that's the media that exists.
Yeah.
Is social media. And so therefore do it. Like that's the dream that's available to you. So, but I think it's the feeling of seeing it change right under your feet that is so disorienting for people,
And I think it's like, I don't know, like I sometimes think about like, let's just say like a Chris Farley. If your desire, and again, right now I'm looking out for myself because I have to. I'm not looking out for the comedy writ large.
Yeah,
that's too big a responsibility. I think as a comedy fan, I would ask myself like, could a Chris Farley happen now? And I think like, and I don't know enough about Chris to speak, but I just know he was chaotic. Seems like someone who might not show up to rehearsal on time or bomb a show now and then, but an insane talent. And there were enough channels and systems that eventually got him in front of a camera enough times to create glorious comedic work. And I don't know if that exists as much anymore. And I do think there are probably some chaotic people that will never get to build those pieces of art because, you have to be a self-starter. You have to have this business element to you. And that's not the same as being a comedian.
Yeah. Chris Farley is a little bit of an uncomfortable example because that chaos killed him. And like he needed help.
He needed help. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg would have made it any better.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But I'm just saying, like some people I know are brilliant talents, but they're not business people. And I do think you can look at the world as it is right now and go, that's that's a loss of comedy talent. You could also look at the world back then and go, some of the brilliant people are ugly as fuck, and TV people won't put them on TV. That's
Right.
also a loss.
Right.
At least now you can decide if you want to be in front of the camera or not.
I guess what we're dealing with is, a lot of people now are just, they're the silent film actors who had the horrible speaking voices, like in Singing in the Rain. It's like the transition is like fucking with people, people who could survive in the cable television atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel very lucky to have been around for the last days of cable. And I also feel very lucky I've been able to transition to the new, industry.
And I was
some people couldn't. And it's like, it's just too bad, but that sucks to go, oh, we're losing folks now.
Yeah, but it's all like think about, there was the term face for radio, and people did radio because they said you weren't. And then podcasts were like a thing of radio. And now we're filming every podcast.
Yeah.
And it goes like, wow, it's just gradually becoming TV shows again.
Yep.
And streamers are becoming networks again. And
Yep.
And I don't know if humanity is going to last long enough to see the full ups and downs of the cycle, but it just feels so like I think people will get maybe bored or just want more concentrated forms of entertainment. It'll go back. I see Twitch streaming stuff, like people who Twitch stream their whole life, and I go, God damn.
Yeah.
You're just on the whole time. You've Truman showed yourself. And I don't criticize it because I'm very far on the spectrum in terms of like, I film a lot of what my life is. I post on Instagram, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I do think at some point people will go, okay, I want to now watch just 2 hours of very well edited, well crafted movies.
Yes.
Maybe.
I mean, I hope so. I hope it pushes people back towards more like human experience. Also, once AI slop like really takes over, what is that going to push?
But sometimes podcasts are great. Maybe a movie or a great TV show gave you a certain feeling, but then a relationship you have that you heard someone's artistic mind for. I don't know. I'm not as pessimistic as I am about a lot of things. I go, there's a lot of great stuff that comes out of the way art is made now.
Yeah.
As a comedian, I think you individually have to hold yourself accountable of not like, okay, I do my crowd work. I do my topical quips. Do I want to have something that is more focused, more elevated, make that an hour, release that hour once every 2-3 years? And I believe I have the ability to go more concentrated, more edited, more thoughtful, and then just a quip, and people can engage with me however they like.
Artistically, yes. Look, I don't want to turn this into a complaint-a-thon,
It can be. I'm more than happy to have it.
Okay, great. Well, because I'm interested in how you do it, but look, yes, great art comes from constraints. There are always constraints in any form of media, and so you look for how the constraints create something good. Like, what television was so rigidly capitalist, but within that structure, we got Seinfeld and everything else, right? Like
sitcom. Someone was talking about, and I haven't seen Paper, so this isn't a critique of it, but they basically said like old sitcoms, part of that joke density, part of that like that churning forward was because they needed to keep you for after the commercial break.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you'll never get that old sitcom feeling again.
100%. When I started doing Adam Ruins Everything, I came from the web, and the True TV was like, we need you to get people over the commercial break. You have to tease. And I was so resistant. I was like, I don't want to. It's annoying.
Sounds
it's
awful.
chilly.
Yeah.
And then it just became part of the rhythm of the show, so that like by probably the second season, like we were just sort of seamlessly, we weren't going stick around. We were seamlessly weaving in this little hint of what was coming next, dramatically and informationally. And it just made the show work rhythmically really well. And all shows do that. And I remember really specifically, like the show, I think it was called Disenchantment. It was like all the best Futurama and Simpsons writers like created a new show with Matt Groening.
Oh,
this was like 6 or 7 years ago. It was on Netflix.
Yeah.
And the first episode was like 42 minutes long. And I was like, where's the A story? Where's the B story? What's happening next? Like, I was so disoriented in the show. I was like, these motherfuckers needed the commercial break. The commercial break is part of what made The Simpsons and Futurama rhythmically great. And we spent our whole lives hating it. But that constraint, that annoying constraint that everybody hated, is part of what made it so good.
And that's why I think when comedians complain about social media, I go, these are just different constraints. and you would have complained about different constraints in the past. Now we have different constraints now, and some of them are frustrating, some of them are unfair, but some of them can be used to just create a different kind of good art.
So yes, I agree with you about the art, right? The problem is, how do you get paid? All the social media work that you're talking about.
I don't disagree.
Right?
I don't disagree.
The editing that you're doing yourself, and that you like, okay, I'm doing all my clips and my Crowdwork, and your clips and your Crowdwork, I think, best in the biz. I don't think you can think you're at the top. You don't get paid for any of that.
Some of it, a little bit.
A negligible.
Sure. Once in a while, you get in there. I got into Facebook Reels when they started Reels, and I just posted old TikToks that I had already made. And in the course of 3 months, I made $100,000 off Facebook. And I was waiting for a knock on the door. I was waiting for a knock on the door of some guy in a suit that said, an error has been made. Give us the money back.
Wow.
But it went away.
Yeah.
It vanished. All these companies, they're just too big. You can get in there at the right time,
I was in the TikTok Creator Fund at sort of like the peak of that. And I was churning out million hit videos every day. Get a million hits, make $40. That was the payout. I went back recently because now I just sort of have my stuff auto posted. I have a social assistant. Of course. I don't make it custom for TikTok anymore.
Yes.
But I was like, is this still paying out? And I went and I couldn't even find, I was like, TikTok Creator Fund doesn't even exist. I was like, where's the current monetization?
They rename it to some other shit.
I can't, the worst menus, like TikTok's an unintelligible app, is designed just as a creator, it's a slot machine trying to get shit out of there. So maybe you find a nice little grift for a couple months,
yes,
right?
Yes, and you know,
it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, and it happens. Even like when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he tried. Some people were like, "Look at all this money I made," and I knew from other apps, I'm like, it's impossible for this to continue.
Yeah,
we can't all be making thousands of dollars every month off front-facing videos. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like any of these it's Uber in the beginning or any of these things.
Then you found out you had to be sleeping with Elon Musk to get the highest amount. And you're like, oh, well, I didn't know about that term.
It's really easy to sleep with Elon Musk, actually. If you just want to be a womb for him, you can do it. He's so easy to fuck. Isn't that crazy? He's got no standard.
Sure.
But so you're like, okay, all of that is to promote your special that you're doing, except that let's say you think of it that way, the big piece of art, right? You're trying to get people in the door to have them see the hour special. That market has also cratered. It used to be, a guy like you in your position with the amount of heat that you have would go to a Netflix or somewhere like that, right? And maybe they'd put $100,000 behind filming it, and you're releasing it on YouTube. I don't say that as a knock because I'm going to do the same thing next year.
Please.
Because that's where people watch it. But the whole industry has been devalued. Like the comedy special itself it doesn't even make sense anymore as something other than a YouTube video.
But that's what I think. What I like about being a stand-up comedian is at the end of the day, my money is from live performance, and I go, thank God. I look at everything down the pipeline, whether it's AI slop, whether it's all the social media things, and I go, it's so nice that at the end of the day, I am trying to get people to leave their homes, take a seat in front of me in person, and they give money, and there's a couple of people between there, but I go, that doesn't devalue in the same way that technology is able to make everything else so volatile.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. So I do make some money off TikTok. I do make decent money off YouTube. It doesn't sustain the operation, but if all of that leads to ticket sales, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And there's a really nice tangibility that, again, whether it was in my acting days or if I was mostly an online creator, that it just keeps everything grounded.
Yeah, that my business works basically the same way. Like a big chunk of it is just from the ticket sales, which is, it is reassuring because I often think about the fact that, AI taking over like slop or whatever. I'm like, we still exist in the real world,
Yeah.
And people do need to go out and leave
no
their
one
house.
wants the holograms. No, I've seen these holograms. First, they're terrible, but no one's, it really is the experience. I saw Lady Gaga. I'm not a big concert guy, but Lady Gaga, I went to see a Madison Square Garden. You go it's worth the money. I'm seeing that person and they're there.
And I'm out. I'm in a different, when I go to a sports game, that's what I call them because I go so frequently. I call them sports games. half of the appeal is just being in a big space.
Sure.
You're like, wow, I'm looking at stuff that's far away from me.
Mhm.
Like that green square is really big and it's in the real world and I'm like a quarter mile from it. Wow.
Yeah.
And like the idea that we were going to put on VR headsets and like watch an NBA
Nuts.
game that way is like, that's not why people go.
I did a show. It was like a meta VR show. And it was, you go, man, this is, first of all, it's not even close to like feeling pleasant. You feel ill.
When you're wearing
heavy.
the headset. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm walking around and the graphics feel like the first generation Sims level graphics, if not worse. And, and you just go, why would anyone? And of course, if you can't leave the house, if you're ill or you're old or whatever, great. But like voluntarily, never, not a million years. And it's nice. It really feels like reality is the one thing that will prevent technology from taking over fully. We just need it.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
I mean, we are literally actually flesh and blood. You cannot actually I don't know why we ever thought this. You cannot replicate with a screen 3 inches in front of your face the experience of actual photons bouncing off actual things and hitting your real retina because you exist in flesh and blood.
Yeah.
That's not those aren't comparable. That's a different way of experiencing photon. Like it's different. It makes you nauseous.
Yeah.
Because your brain is not designed for it.
And you lack, there's senses that I think, I never went back to in-person therapy after we went to Zoom because of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me neither. And I miss it.
And I never did because it became a choice. I was like, well, I don't want to fucking go all the way up to the Upper West Side to do this anymore. But I'm like, there was a huge loss there.
Yeah.
There's a huge loss. And also like, there's the loss, there's the journey, the different location. And I would argue in a therapeutic sense, like there's something about when you smell another human being in the room, it does something to you. You're in a different place. When you hear, when you sense, you cannot replicate it, especially with therapy where you want to be vulnerable with someone. It's very different to be able to close your laptop and you're alone again.
Yeah. It's the difference between your therapist being you're in their space and you have to be confronted by them. You cannot escape. Mm-hmm. You're in a room for 45 minutes versus them being on a little square in the room you've been in all day next to your email. And I find that hugely emotionally different. And also in LA, when meetings went to Zoom, right? I did pitch meetings over Zoom. And I'm like, just the difference, me trying to sell something to an executive, sell them on a good idea, like, if I'm in the room with them, it's impolite for them to look at their phones. They have half an hour to spend with me. They must be in there with me. I actually have their attention. When I'm on a square in their office and they're going to log out at, 4:29 and 59 seconds to go to their next one, like I'm just a YouTube video to them. And
bouncing back from that is going to be so hard. Like I think, Zoom auditions I think are garbage, and it's like, well, what's gonna make it turn back? I don't know. A dark period of the arts where everyone goes, wow, everything kind of sucks. And then someone goes, so a show is made that is great. And people go, how'd you do it? And they go, this casting director is really annoying. They made everyone come in person. And they go,
Folks, do you struggle with procrastinating? When you put off doing something that could save you a ton? I used to be a huge procrastinator until I heard about Mint Mobile's best deal of the year that is ending soon. 50% off unlimited premium wireless for new customers. Now is the time to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month, and when you switch, you'll be getting high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. Making it even easier, you can keep your current phone and phone number on any Mint Mobile plan and bring along all of your existing contacts. Zero friction. Just sweet, sweet savings. I'm out here on the road right now in Tulsa, Oklahoma doing stand-up, headed soon to more cities near you. But, while I'm on the road, I am on my phone a lot. I'm even on it right now while recording this for you. So I need to have lightning fast, reliable, high-speed internet wherever I go so I can do things like, upload this video to my editor so we can get the podcast out in time. And that is why this is such an exciting deal, because you get such great connectivity that I know you rely on as well for such a great price. So don't be a procrastinator. Quit stalling and start saving when you make the switch. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/factually. That's mintmobile.com/factually. Upfront payment of $45 required. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. You know, do you ever feel like your brain has reached capacity? It's like all your to-dos, dinner plans, important dates, and errands have lined up down the block and are waiting for the bouncer to let them into Club Brain. Well, let me be the fire marshal to your overcrowded mind and offer up some relief. Skylight Calendar. It syncs your entire family's schedule onto a sleek digital display so that you can focus on more important things. This all-in-one smart calendar syncs seamlessly with Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, Outlook, and gives you customizable views for daily, weekly, or monthly planning. You'll be able to manage events, chores, and grocery lists while assigning colors for each of your family members and eliminating that excuse of not knowing what they need to do. With the free Skylight Companion app, you can add or update events, lists, and more on the go. Your happiness is Skylight's happiness. So if in 120 days you are not 100% thrilled with your purchase, you can return it for a free refund, no questions asked. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to myskylight.com/factually. Go to myskylight.com/factually for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is myskylight.com/factually.
I mean, I hope so. I hope that we have a pushback towards like real in-person, like live art, like art.
We're not going to be as long as these fucking Silicon Valley folks. Like if they run the entire fucking conversation,
yeah.
These nerds that never want to leave the house. I mean, I'm being rude, but it's just like the power that they have has become too consolidated, and it's like 10 guys that you would never want to have dinner with, and they are running things, and it's like, yeah, they're making a world for them,
yes,
not for an agreed upon. And it's bad.
The best example of this, it's not the most pernicious one, but the best example is like the Apple Vision Pro, which by all accounts is incredible technology. Like it's,
sure.
I've not tried it, but I was like, it's supposed to be super, super amazing in terms of what they've accomplished. But what it does is it puts your emails in the room around you.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants that other than Tim Cook?
Yeah.
Like Tim Cook is like, yeah, sure would be great if I had a more interesting way to look at what I do all day.
Sure,
my emails.
sure.
I'm like, I want to be looking at emails less overall.
Yeah.
A better world for me is one where I'm not fucking trapped on any of your devices.
Mm-hmm.
But AI is that way. Like the people who like AI best are programmers because it lets them program fast. It seems like maybe it could help them program faster. Jury's kind of out. But if it can, hey, that's nice. But why is that so appealing to the rest of it? Like the use case for everybody else is just, it's a bad web search and it'll tell your son to kill himself. Great.
Oh my God. My girlfriend's mom, she uses it where she'll like send a picture where it's like, hey, here's a picture of me if I was the Pope. And it's one of these things like I know that picture killed a small family of rabbits and they didn't have enough water to drink. But I go, oh, it made her smile. And it's one of those where I'm like just this. And she wasn't commissioning artists before this. It's not like some artist, oh, I used to make those great Pope pics.
Yeah.
But
that's true. Well, hey, there were probably some people on DeviantArt who could have drawn her as the Pope with, a huge ass and some great anime titties.
Yeah.
And they are going hungry, but
I don't know how you convince the greater population. I think to most people, it's like, remember those like e-cards where they put your face into like an elf and it'd be like
jib jab.
Merry Christmas, yeah. And I think that's how the general population views a lot of the AI art stuff. They're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this, sweetheart? Oh my God! First it was Zoran, now it's this. Can I just enjoy my life for 2 days?
Oh, so you think that's how it's worming?
I just worry that's the average person who just wants to use ChatGPT for shits and giggles and I don't know how to beat that messaging.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
No, I mean the sort of like, look, I'm an anti-AI guy generally, but the sort of like blue sky tone about AI of like, like we can't be using because of the water.
Yeah.
It's like we have to recognize this is a minority. this is 5% of the population feels that engaged about this at any moment. We could try to let people know what's up, but it's like, that's not gonna totally win the day.
I had just fingers crossed for those court cases. There's some court case that was recently decided about like the usage. There was a huge payout. So for like,
oh yeah, what I read about this, Anthropic paid publishers, I believe it was $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
And what's wild about that is there's speculation in the tech press that the reason they agreed to such a high amount is because they can afford it, but nobody else can. So they're trying to shut out competition. They're okay, Microsoft can afford 1.5 billion. Anthropic we can afford it.
Sure.
Maybe one other company can't, but like everyone else can be fucked because they can't afford to pay this giant. So they agreed to a giant fine for monopolistic evil reasons.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, it's like I saw some author. Now I'm forgetting. Matt Pierce has a really great newsletter. He wrote that it worked out to about $3,000 a book.
Yeah.
Which is like, if you're an author, you get a check for $3,000. You're like, okay, but that's not enough to like write books, you know?
Sure.
Like you can't write a book for $3,000. And so it's like, it is still less than the value of a book, right? So it's high, but also too high and not high enough.
Yeah, it's really sad. I guess I had some kind of like weird faith that the people who stood to benefit from copyright, not individual authors, but big publishing companies, big music companies, would hold these tech companies' feet to the flame.
No, they just want to be cut in.
Yeah.
No, it's like the music. It's like the music labels on Spotify, right? Where like what happened. My understanding is the way Spotify actually took over the music business was they gave the major labels just like a stake in Spotify. They like paid them off in like equity or whatever. So, hey, now you own part of the thing. And that is why they are willing to fuck over their artists and their own business model, was they got cut in fundamentally on the new one.
Sure.
So like that's all the New York Times wants from OpenAI. They're just like, give us our piece.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're still suing now? I always hear that every podcast I hear, like, full disclosure, we are suing Anthropic AI, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know what the status of the lawsuit is, but like the corporation, I
just think it's such an open and shut case. You cannot train on copywritten material. I mean, there's no language bullshit that's going to convince me that you can train. You can't. You're using it. I don't care that it's shrouded in different language. You are using the copywritten material.
Yeah, to reproduce the same thing. The only reason it can make an episode, it can make a shitty 1-page episode of Adam Ruins Everything. It's because it's trained on the scripts. It's the only reason. And it can like reproduce like the thing that I created in a crude facsimile.
It's all still really bad though. Like I've done someone did on a show like looked up, make a joke in the style of me. Yeah. And I got that I was Jewish and Italian and then just made a stereotypical joke about Italians and Jews. So I don't know where this model is, but you always hear about like, well, this next model, oh my God, it'll make your next hour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I really love they've been telling us, it's just getting started. It's been about as good. ChatGPT itself has been about the same amount of good for like 3 years. Like,
yeah,
it hasn't
you keep hearing, I feel like John Mulaney, like a year ago, he wrote an article or he referenced an article that his friend wrote that was like, guys, it's coming. I was brought into the lab. And George Carlin was there.
I'm sorry. This is an article by, I believe, Simon Rich.
Yes,
and I have read it. And he's either a mark or he is participating in the scary illusion in order to sell books. And I think he probably did a pretty good job of that. Like he's fine. No problems with him personally. But I read that and I was like, So
I read it as a quiver. I said, "Oh no, he saw it. It's over."
So my criticism of this was a period when authors were going, "I got AI to write a humor essay or a book or a script, and it's really good, and it's going to take over." But I was looking at that going, "No, you talked to ChatGPT for like 20 hours, and then you copied and pasted your favorite stuff." And you put it in the form of a book, and then you came up with a pitch, and then you wrote a blurb, and then that's writing, motherfucker. You did that, right? That's magnetic poetry. Your fridge didn't write the poem, you did.
Yeah.
And so what I object to about that project was it made it sound like, he did in the furtherance of telling us how this scary thing is coming. If he was like, hey, look what I did with ChatGPT, it's awesome. I'd be like, all right, that's fine, whatever. It's a project.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people became participants in the doom narrative, which is what the companies were selling us.
Yeah. I agree. I think all these silicon, the spin is always like, this is it.
Yeah.
And no one ever pays for the moment of like, it wasn't it.
Yeah.
It wasn't it.
Like it hasn't, where's the, I was told that I would be out of a job by now,
Yeah.
and we're being told that all we're going to do is sit around and watch AI generated movies.
Yeah.
And what I always ask people is I'm like, would you watch an idiot? Is that what you want to watch? Like right now? Like if you could watch one right now, would you sit down and watch it?
And I think about the part of the movies is, oh my God, that's Zendaya. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And oh wow, she has an accent. I mean, like that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Though I think if TVs and movies get taken down a peg and the world has to do more theater, I'm fine with that too.
That's fine. People like people, right? That's the point. Is like you like knowing who the actor is. Oh, they're single. Ooh, maybe I could, oh, I'm a big fan. Whatever. Like they have that connection with the person, which is what stand-up comedy trades on so much. So you are bringing people back into the room. That's like part of what you see yourself
when
as
when
doing.
I think about like what do I go, what am I best at, what am I driving towards the most, what's my heart thinking about, it is that live show. It's not like it's I don't really run like my perfect hour, but like I try to train myself to have a lot of things to pull from, a lot of material. If there's some crowd work, it'll happen. If there's some new stuff, I'll let it happen. But if you come see me live, I keep myself in shape to put on a show. And that's to me, that's my guiding light.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody. I mean, for some people they have different priorities or the stage is secondary or tertiary to them.
Yeah.
And I agree, like from a stand-up comedy perspective, like why are these comedy clubs putting up these people? Well, it's because they sell tickets. But I understand why that might be frustrating. I know a lot of people who get frustrated with, the TikTok stars who can barely hold the stage for 20 minutes headlining the clubs.
Yeah.
And I think the clubs will rue the day, though the ones that have no standards. I think one day when they find they don't have any brand or any status or any taste, they're just a box people come visit, that those TikTokers are going to ask for the meanest door deal possible. They're not going to make any income off the shows. And those that didn't hold their ground and continue to cultivate some kind of like, come here for a good show, will eventually lose. It's going to take a while. It's going to be gradual. It's not going to be clean. But I can't get mad at the club. At the same time, I think they'll regret it.
They're trying to sell tickets.
And I think some of them will regret when they complain to me, when they go, oh, we had this TikToker last week, and then he said goodnight before the checks drop. I want to be like, yeah, that's on you. You deserve it. You deserve it. You brought in someone who wasn't a comic. You helped them with the scam of selling a show that they weren't ready to do.
Yeah. You could have booked a couple more people to open who were good, or so you could have made the show work better, but instead you just splapped the person on stage.
Yeah. Comics long for the day. They long for the day where they say, I will be great, and this club has an automatic audience, and I will go, and I'll go there this year, and next year I'll have some it's a long plan, and it's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't always work. I knew people, I felt like I got at UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, like late in New York, and I met people who really were so spoiled as to believe audiences just show up.
I was at UCB from like 2000 during the peak years, like 2006 to 2012 or so. And it was like audiences did just show. It was just like a mile of NYU kids out the door every single night to see whatever. And I just thought that's how it was.
And it's like, you know what? And when they did, and UCB didn't pay, and it almost was like, well, they gave you this full audience. And then when that audience started disappearing,
right,
when the casting director started disappearing, suddenly the deal that was never written out on paper was broken.
Yeah.
And there was a feeling of like, well, fuck, I'm not getting paid. And there's no one here, and I have to bring everyone here. And that's when the adjustment, the problem with free labor is if sometimes it exists in a realm where it actually did kind of, you were getting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Is that when that thing fades, as it always does.
Yeah.
There's not an adjustment made, and then you're just careening towards rebellion. And
UCB, when they started sending emails to the performers saying, "Hey, your audience numbers are down this week," that's about the moment that people started going, "What the fuck is this again?"
Of course,
because I thought I thought this was, you were giving me, I thought it was an equal exchange. I didn't think I was working for you. But in fact, the people who ran the theater always did think of the performers as working for them. They just like pretended that they didn't.
There was a time where to audition for any commercial at certain casting offices, you had to have UCB training. That was the easy calling card for the cast director to be like, well, if they're UCB trained, that means they know what they're doing, kind of. And then, of course, with that, UCB, the classes blew up. And suddenly one day the cast director said, God, that's the third UCB student that fucking sucks. This is no longer the status card for comedy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like none of these things last forever.
It's every time someone who spent time on UCB comes on the show, the conversation devolves to this. Because I think those of us who are there for it have this constant wrestling with like, what was that?
I was only there for the bad. So like, I feel like in a lot of ways with my acting, I really came in on the tail end of a lot of sinking ships. And in fact, the fact that I got on that ship should have been the first warning sign that it was sinking into the ocean.
I always have felt actually in my career that I have jumped from sinking ship to sinking ship. Like I got a job at College Humor in the last days of web videos as being like a business model.
Sure.
And then we hopped to, as that was sinking, we hopped and we did cable television. And I'm so lucky I got to make a cable television. I grew up watching cable. I got to make a cable TV show. We ran for 5 years. People know me for the show. And then that sank into the ocean. Then I got a show on Netflix right as they sort of stopped making comedy or documentary or anything original.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm back on like internet video, which is where I started. But and then also every city. I was in New York right as like the really cool alt scene moved to LA, and then I moved to LA right before like Meltdown Comics stopped being a thing. Like it's funny to always feel like you're there for the last days of the good thing.
Sure, but at least you were there for the last days. I came there and I said, "Oh, is the party over?" And they say, "Yeah, the party. Facebook ruined the party last year." Oh God.
When I'm on the road, like I am right now, and I'm not cozy at home in my own bed, I do have trouble falling asleep sometimes. Right now, I'm out on stand-up tour, which means I have a lot of stops in unfamiliar hotels. If you also struggle with sleep, you should consider AGZ. AGZ is a melatonin-free formula with clinically studied herbs, adaptogens, and minerals. I know that when I don't get good sleep, I struggle the next day, and I definitely don't want to be struggling up on stage. AGZ says they can help make the most of your day by helping you to wind down before bed, optimizing the quality of your sleep during the night, and to help you wake up feeling refreshed and well-rested without grogginess. AGZ does this with a clinically tested form of magnesium, which they say has been shown to improve sleep quality and support cognitive function. Each serving of AGZ delivers 250 milligrams of magnesium, providing over half your daily value. So if that makes sense to you, consider starting to take your sleep seriously with AGZ. Head to drinkag1.com/factually to get a free welcome kit with the flavor of your choice that includes a 30-day supply of AGZ and a free frother. That's drinkag1.com/factually.
Well, let's talk about Crowdwork because Crowdwork is
universally loved by all stand-up comedians.
Because stand-up comedians talk about how much they hate it. There's like in the genre, I hate this genre of YouTube video, but there's all these like YouTube video essays about stand-up comedy with like guys with disembodied voices talking about the Joe Roganosphere or what the deal with Bert Kreischer is.
Have you watched any of Elephant Graveyard?
I have watched some of that.
I mean, some of that's incredible.
That's a good one, but I'm also like, show your fucking face. We do. To people who are talking about stand-up comedy on YouTube, I'm like, you show your face. I like that video, but
maybe
there's a lot of other
face
people
for radio, and it's like like maybe he's like, listen, we don't all have to be front and center, and maybe he's brave. Some of those Joe Rogan guys, some of them look real strong. I'm not gonna speak for their comedy, but they could outlift me for sure. So I understand the fear. I have fear of some of these people that I talk shit about running into them.
They're talking shit about you probably. So
I'm sure. But I can't pirouette at them.
You'd be like, hey man, I'm making content. I'm trying to make something for other people to make YouTube videos about. We have a beef, like people breaking down stand-up comedy beefs. People who watch hundreds of hours of YouTube podcasts of comedians talking, and then they'll
Joe
go
List
about
and
like,
Bert Kreischer got in a fight once at a bachelor party 3 years ago, and I know all these details about it, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it also like it. I don't know. Seeing the Drake Kendrick beef, part of me said, this is good for the industry. Like
Yeah.
I've never listened to more rap than in this week. I'm learning all these verses, and I go maybe beefs can be good.
Mhm.
Sometimes people, it does hurt their careers, but sometimes I'm like, sometimes beefs are good. I
Yeah.
want to lean into that.
I mean, it's both things at once, it's what's the famous tweet about Trump, right? Like, this is bad for the country, but it's tremendous content. Like, it can be great media and, overall deleterious.
I think what's so frustrating about like Mark Maron's on this kind of run of like criticizing these guys, and I want to go, why aren't you going on Rogan and doing this face to face?
Yeah,
that's entertaining. That's entertaining.
He got pretty close. He went on Bad Friends, right? That's like it's like
friends of friends.
Close to it.
It's close to it, but like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, go on the show.
It's true.
And if they don't want to have you, then go, oh wow.
Yeah.
We couldn't talk this out. I think it would be exciting.
Okay.
I think it needs to happen.
Is someone going to make a YouTube video about you calling out Maron on my show? Are we?
No, but then Maron and I talk, and we're both going to agree. I just go like, I think Maron. If Maron went on Joe Rogan, that'd be the first Joe Rogan I would have listened to in quite some time.
It would be really interesting, and it is like, as two of the original comedy podcasters. Have either of them ever appeared on each other's show? We should go check the archives.
I'm sure. Probably, they both like started in that.
Yeah, but like it would be really fitting.
Yeah, just duke it out. I don't know. I think like one thing that was always tough I sometimes don't know how to refer to the liberal side, the left side, but there really was like a thing of like, don't platform people, don't have them on at all.
Yeah,
and it failed spectacularly. I would argue.
I would agree.
And I go, if anything, I think it'll be the other way around right now, given who's in power, that I think some of those folks are not going to want to have someone that's going to talk tough to them.
Yeah.
And I think to use tactics that work, to call them out, to be like, yeah, have them on.
Yeah.
And what are you scared?
Yeah.
What are you scared? This is a nice plunge, Joe. You can talk to Mark for an hour.
What's the problem? Well, I want to about Crowdwork, like people complain about it. The reason I brought up YouTube videos is I've seen YouTube videos about, people complaining how Crowdwork ruined comedy, etc. I think you do it in a way that is like really honest, and I think captures what is good about Crowdwork. Because Crowdwork, I mean, the reason it works is you're literally talking about what's in the room, which is what is essentially good about stand-up comedy that's happening in a real place to a real group of people. And so it's like fundamentally in the moment.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, first, if I look at like improv versus sketch, I will defend good improv can be great. It's a different art form.
Yeah.
It's not the exact same. Crowdwork is not the same as prepared stand-up comedy. That's fine. I think it's very popular online, but so can prepared material be good. My like mean argument to a lot of people complaining about Crowdwork is like, my Crowdwork has better joke writing than a lot of your prepared material.
Yeah.
That's what I would say when I'm like, really like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And also like, I will do at my shows what I want. I do think it is rude in a showcase club where you're doing sets and the general premise that has been agreed upon is you're doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
To do Crowdwork. Here and there, of course. If a moment arises, that's brilliant. By all means, go for it.
Yeah.
I think there's a matter of manners that has been lost. I don't do as much club work as I have, but I knew those comedians that were using the show to farm for clips or just didn't have material and wanted to crowd work and would change the nature of the show in a way that was tough to recover.
Yeah.
That's annoying. If you go to a show and they have no prepared material and they build it as a stand-up comedy show and didn't say it was a crowd work, I think that's annoying. Do I think a lot of bad comedians get away with doing a lot of crowd work and edit it to make it look like it was a good minute, but really that's the only good minute in the full hour of that show? Sure.
Yeah.
Do I think we should be dictating like what an art form should be based on those that do it poorly, no. I listen, you want the algorithm to change, put out even better prepared material. It will go viral. It has always gone viral.
Yeah.
I think it has less to do with crowd work as it does with comedians not necessarily creating the shame and bullying system that we used to have if you were a bad stand-up comedian. And it's a tough line, because I would say, like, I always think about when I see a Patrice O'Neal documentary, I go, he would have bullied the shit out of me. I know it. He wouldn't have liked me. And I was in a club when I first started where I was bullied, where it was, they were harsh, LOL in New York City. It's long gone. But it was like, they were harsh. They were mean. I had to earn my stripes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good for me in that atmosphere. Now, the problem with the bullying world is it's often a boys' club, and it often is, it's a lot of homophobic bullying and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But in defense of homophobic bullying.
Are you making the whiplash argument? You got to have a cymbal thrown at your head to be a good drummer?
A little bit. Maybe not at your head, but maybe right at your feet.
Wow.
I say maybe change the aim of the cymbal. But I will always think that art will always involve a degree of, like, gatekeepers is one term. The other term is like integrity amongst your peers, wanting respect of your peers, holding each other accountable, feeling embarrassed when you do badly on the show.
Yeah.
And the whether it's the Joe Rogans or so many people who have big podcasts, they don't get bullied because you want to do their show.
Right.
And I think, like, that to me is far more detrimental than people doing crowd work. If someone sucks at either, it's not great for the art form. If someone is convincing people to come to a show and delivering a shit show, and then that audience goes, I don't really like stand-up comedy, I do think that's bad for the overall market. The number of people that come up to me after shows and go, "This was my first comedy show."
That's my favorite thing that people say after a show.
But that's how untapped this market is, to speak from, like, a business perspective. So many people have never seen a stand-up comedy show.
Yeah.
So I do think that's bad. I have enough stress in my life criticizing my own work that I don't feel the need to look at. I mean, there's 50 names racing through my head. It's like, how many people do I want to? My girlfriend told me recently, she said, listen, do you want to go after comedians for their political views or comedians who you think are bad at the art form? If you want to do both, don't be surprised that you don't have a lot of friends. And she's
just too many fronts in your war.
There's too many fronts in the war. And right now, unfortunately, the political takes the mantle. But there's a lot. There's a lot of people I think are terrible.
A lot of people have bad political views and are bad at comedy.
Of course, but there's a lot of people with great views who are terrible at comedy. And I talk about this with Jay Jordan, who I'm sure you know.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Jordan, I think he's vocal on both. And he doesn't need to be as liked as much as maybe I do. But he's like, I've been in rooms with people where we're like, you see Jay talked about them? About time someone said this so and so. And it's I do think there needs to be bullying. I don't know if I can lead the charge.
I mean, bullying is bullying is a maladaptive social behavior versus genuine criticism,
Sure, but you should feel anxious to perform at the Comedy Cellar. You should feel, not all the time, but you should go like, man, I better have my shit together. Yeah. I better be ready. I better not audition at this club until I feel certain about myself.
Yeah.
And I think, like, those things are hard to maintain. Those respect, value, and everything about technology and social media undermines that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So when people talk about crowd work, I go, it's like your eyes are in the wrong place. Me talking to an audience member at my show, that's not the problem with comedy writ large.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not criticizing you in any way, nor am I interested in people who criticize crowd work that much. I'm interested in, like, because there's a lot of bad crowd work out there.
Sure.
I'm interested in,
and there's a lot of bad
how you do it with the soul of an artist. I am.
Yes. I'll talk about, like, the deep of, like, I love to. I think of crowdwork as like asking the question I would want to ask someone in a conversation, but it would be too polite to, or it would be too dark or too fucked up or too weird. So I really feel like I'm trying to unsheath my, not just politeness brain, but just like social customs brain and going, this is a different space. We can talk in a different way. And we're here to like have a good time. So if your dad died and I asked, how did he die? We're engaging in this conversation in a way that you will never with a person on the street. They're going to go, I'm so sorry for your loss. You don't need to talk to me about it. I'm going to ask. And you volunteered it at the comedy show, and hopefully the contract is there. And if it's not, you would adjust in the moment.
Yeah.
I fucked up now and then. But like, I think there's so many cool stories out of people that people have incredible dinner party stories that they're going to tell 2 dinner parties and die. No one's ever going to film it or clip it. And I have an opportunity to talk to a person and like get their story, get their
and clip it.
And clip it. Sure. Sure. I think if you want to find my opinion about what'll be the end of Crowdwork will be too many self-aware audience members. Like that could be the end of, because I have it happen now. I've had an audience member now and then go, oh, you got your clip or whatever. And it's like, enough of that. Believe you me.
Yeah.
The moment the funny's gone, I'm out.
Yeah.
The moment the audience member comes in and sees the sign that says you may be recorded for the show and goes, I'd like some of the ticket money back if I'm going to be on the YouTube. I know you guys are making money this way. Could be the end.
Yeah.
I'm just making the art out of the circumstances I have in front of me, which is I'm on stage for like 90 minutes, and sometimes to mix it up, I want to talk to some people.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the person is there in front of you and you're having an actual conversation with them in front of other actual people, that to me is like the soul of the thing. Like it's bad. Crowdwork is bad when it feels canned, or it just feels like, I remember seeing a warm-up comic like 15 years ago for a late night show who was just like getting people's ethnicities and then doing a canned joke for each ethnicity.
Of course.
And in the end, he was like, oh, you're Jewish, you can open a deli with the Greek guy or whatever. And the crowd lost their minds, but it was so rote, right? And it was because he was doing it every single day as a warm-up for a late night show.
Of course. And he has to kill. There's no, I didn't get him tonight.
Yeah, he's got 7 minutes to do it before the host comes on and they need to be hot, right? So, it was hackery for a purpose.
Yes,
but you see a lot of people. So I don't criticize him, but you see that a lot on social media of people they've just got their like thing down. They're not actually being present in the moment, and I feel like to me, I've started doing more crowd work or just more talking to the audience in my own act over the past couple of years. And as more and more people have been complaining about crowd work, and to me, it's helped me get closer to what I think stand-up comedy is, or at least how I want to do it. Because I feel like I always used my jokes, my joke writing, and my delivery as like armor against the audience and the comics in the back who I'm trying to impress, right? That insecurity that you think we should have.
Yeah.
To me, that's held me back a little bit. Cause I always want to impress the other comics, but to the extent that it makes you feel insecure on stage, the audience feels the insecurity off of you. And they're like, oh, this guy isn't confident, or they feel unsettled. Yeah. And then the show isn't as good as they could be. But when you're watching a really great when you watch a really, really great comic, a lot of the feeling is I'm in really good hands. This person, no matter what happens, she's going to be fine. Right. And when I am really in my element doing stand up, when I'm on the road in front of a good crowd in a city I like, I feel connected to the place, and I can just start the show by just like talking to the audience for 15 minutes, about like, man, it's great being in Buffalo, crazy city, you guys, what are you guys doing? And we're just having like a conversation before I launch into the material. Yeah. That's when I'm like, oh, I'm just naturally funny. We're just having a natural connection. They're saying things to me and I'm just responding naturally, and they're laughing, and it like
feels connection to,
I can do no wrong.
And it's also like, why are we to be like really artsy fartsy about it, but like, why are we a comedian? There's some part of us that interacts in a humorous way with the world. So you're really just like taking the material away for a second and kind of like showing really your comedic self, like just closer to your heart and your brain. And again, sometimes it's like, is that enough for a full show? Maybe not always, but to visit it and to show it and to engage with it, and also in a way to like let it's kind of like going to see, again, I don't know a lot about music, but I certainly would like sit and if Sondheim was like, what if this was a song? And I talked about this, and I'd be like, ooh, I got to see like Sondheim think and work and craft. And then, again, if I went to a show at Carnegie Mellon, I'd go, okay, now play Send in the Clowns. But like, I'd be totally down to engage as part of the overall show. Yeah. So I think it's just an element. And again, I think there's some spaces it's not right. I think there's some spaces it's like you do have a responsibility to your peers on the show to make the thing. I remember Broadway Comedy Club, which is still open. There was some guy, and like, so I was a new comic. It was a harder crowd, and this guy, he would like leave the stage and like go into the audience for the whole set. Again, and maybe you look at it and you go, "You're brilliant. You're what's his name? The SNL guy that Mickey Mouse, Andy.
The famous,
the famous.
Maybe you're that guy. One of the most important comedians in who I've loved him since I was a child. And it's not Andy Richter, it's not Andy Kidler,
I know.
It's Andy.
There's too many
Kaufman.
Andys.
It's Andy Kaufman. You made me forget.
And maybe that guy's Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Maybe that guy's Andy Kaufman, and he's doing brilliant work that I can't even see. But if you're asking me, the community has to follow that. I go, we gotta too much leaving the stage in stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
because I'm not doing that, and now the audience is like completely disengaged. They're looking here, they're looking there. What happened to theater?
Yeah. So
it's like in that I do think it's about taste, and it's about respect, and it's about understanding what spaces are meant for what. And I do think there are a lot of bad comedians relying on crowd work, but then that's bad crowd work. We can, I think, if anything, instead of like painting crowd work, we can go like, this is bad crowd work. This is good crowd work. This is crowd work where you're just asking mundane questions that ChatGPT could come up with. And this is one where you did an investigation of this person's day or family or life, or where you are bringing your own self to it, or you are asking from your own point of view.
Yeah.
And until you can differentiate the two, it's too easy to just like look at the whole thing and go, it's all bad. That's crazy.
I think what I just want most from comedy, either me performing it or seeing other people do it now, is presence. I want to feel the presence of the comic. I want to be present, and I want the comic to feel present. And so actually the example that you chose, where someone goes into the crowd and does something crazy, and the next comic has to say, oh, geez, we're all going to expect this now. Oh, you're going to expect me to go in the crowd. Well, that's the right thing for that comic to say, right? Because they're speaking to what just happened in the room.
Mm-hmm.
The comic who's really fucked is the one who can't even do that, who's like,
yes.
I just need to open with my opener.
Of course.
With my scripted opener that I do exactly the same every time in the same tone of voice, because that's how I know I produce the laugh.
Yeah.
Right. Which is how I was doing comedy like 5 years in, right?
Sure.
Like, I got my little act, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like bad in its own way, because you're not actually, your knees aren't bent. You're not in the room.
Sure. And the comedy club model, I mean, it created that to a degree where you were terrified. You're like, you just had to kill for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I know those comics who have like a killer 50-minute set. I couldn't top it to save my life. And that's all they've done for 50 years. I've seen them. I've seen the 70, LOL, the old people. And you go like, they've been doing this set every single time forever. And then I go, then why? That's not, you're scared. You're just living in fear.
There's different comedy shows demand specific jobs. So wait, when you're on the road, you like, I've seen you promote like this set is going to be crowd work and this set is going to be material.
I say this is going to be new material and crowd work, and that's usually, I call it the silver lining. I'm trying to figure out like, how do I establish a regular headlining set versus like, I'm going to go really new. I want a space where I can go really new and lean a little more into crowd work. I've never done like a full crowd work show because I usually have so much material I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are surprised if they only know me from the internet. Some people like will think that I only do crowd work. And it's like, well, hopefully when I release a special, you'll see. you'll see. And again, like if it ever came the day, every audience member goes, what the fuck was all that material? I would go, okay, I need to adjust my output. I'm dealing with 10 social media platforms spread out. Everyone's getting me different ways. It's going viral in different ways. I'm constantly adjusting.
Yeah.
But I try to differentiate, like, I got if headlining, it's like, my priority here is to kill a little bit more. And then new material, I'm like, there may be moments that I'm going to really talk through something. However, I would argue there's more crossover. I'm not pure. I'm still doing a 90-minute regular headlining show and I'm dropping in new stuff, but it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's less about like, it's not in me. I'm not focused enough to just do a strict hour. There's usually probably 30, 40 minutes that's going to be the same. But then the rest, I do like to float around. I do like to change up the order. I do like crowd work when it happens. And in my mind, I just have to reach a certain threshold of like, this was a good show. But some shows you'll get, and I'll talk about religion and death for a long amount of time. And the next show, I won't touch it.
Mm.
And it's like, whether it's good or bad or good for business or bad, it really is just who I am. If I'm doing 2 shows a night, I get too bored too easily to do something else. That's just me.
Yeah.
Someone told me Brian Regan would go on tour and he'd tour 2 shows at the same time. And at the end of the show, he'd say, hey, if you like that, you can come to tomorrow's show, same city, different hour. And I'm like, God bless.
That's great.
That OCD helped you out in this specific way. That's great. And my ADHD helps me out in a different way. What is art but using your mental illness to your advantage?
This is actually really helpful for me because the two shows in a night is like a grind, right? And if you're doing the exact same material, it's like, all right, the second one's never going to be as good. It's just on autopilot, And if instead that is when you're freshening up and you're like, hey, they're drunk anyway, might as well fuck around a little bit. It's 10:30 p.m. on a Friday.
Yeah.
Or
if you can go long,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to go to a 1 show a night model.
Yeah.
I do. I would rather do like a 90. Sometimes if I'm really feeling it, I'll do an hour 45. And I'm like, if I was done, the feeling of finishing a show and then having to restart for that second show.
Yeah.
It's killing me, man.
You get 30 minutes off.
It's killing me.
You a meet and greet after or no?
I used to. I stopped this year. It was just too much.
I'm doing it and I love it. It's genuinely like my favorite part of the night and it's physically exhausting.
Yeah. And I want to be present and I feel sometimes people come up with some heavy shit. They come up with they're like I was going to kill myself and whenever they say you saved me and I always want to be like, which video was it? My God. We gotta.
All right. I gotta figure out how to do material where people say you saved my life. No, they say I had a guy come up and go like, you like, I was in a really dark place with like conspiracy theories and like right-wing stuff.
That's really beautiful.
And you really pulled me out of that. And I was like, I'm sure you were fine. And his wife goes, no, it was really bad.
See, I think that's great. I think that's, God, dear God, do we need more of that now? Fuck. I think that's a really good compliment.
It is a really good compliment. And it's nice when you actually meet an individual because you put stuff out on the internet and you're like, I've been doing this shit for over a decade now. A lot of it has been, trying to correct misconceptions, stuff like that. You do it for long enough and you're like, well, I said everything and the world didn't change, so did this have an impact?
Yeah.
And when I think about when Jon Stewart retired the first time, he's like, I've been talking about Fox and Friends for 15 fucking years. They're still on the air. Like, like, what am I supposed to, I'm just supposed to keep doing this for whatever, I'm out, Sometimes I feel that way. When someone comes up to you and says like, hey, it actually helped, you're like, okay, it was all worth it. I guess I'll get up again tomorrow and do it again,
I have too much I saw recently, I think a lot about like how media literacy feeds into conspiracy theories, like understanding how Hollywood works. And this person said, those South Park guys, they just have to stay in line or else Comedy Central will shut them down. And I want to be like, the South Park guys could buy 10 Comedy Centrals.
Yeah.
You think Comedy Central runs South Park? Who?
You don't know about the deal that they signed in 1997, giving them ownership of the show? Like, yeah.
And I go like, it lets people it's like a deep misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Of, and it's terrible. I don't know. I don't know. I get too mad. I would just start screaming. I think like you have the patience to like talk someone through. Okay, let's talk about networks and streaming and how it's transformed the entertainment industry.
Yeah. I mean, you do a lot of politics in your material. Why?
I guess it depends on the cause, you know? I think like when it comes to like Israel-Palestine stuff, I think it feels very specific to me about like American Judaism, about being a Jewish American. And like I wasn't raised religiously. I did do birthright when I was 24. And I mean, truly, I didn't know a thing about anything. I went to college for musical theater. My education came later in life, which I'm not using as any kind of excuse. All it is to say, like, someone said, "Did you know this place? Do you know this Israel? They give free trips to Jews." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And that was it. That was my full understanding of things. But I feel like one thing that, first of all, American Jews, whether it be, the phase of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, or just like, interacting with Hasidic people in New York, or just more Jewish family members or whatever, there's always a sense of like, you're a Jew. You're a Jewish person, and this community is always here for you, blah, blah, blah. And there was something kind of presented where it was, I grew up in a very progressive area, I went to a very progressive high school. And there was always a thing of like, whether this was the image true or not, but like Jews were with Martin Luther King Jr., like marching for civil rights. And there was this, the image was like, we were ostracized, we were blamed. So we stand with people who are not in power. We stand for equality.
Yeah.
And it felt, oh, good. I'm glad that's my people, that we stand for that. And there was just such a, again, I wasn't raised with any kind of Zionism or any talk about Israel, period. I don't know if my mom ever said the word Israel growing up. So when I saw this kind of, and then, I was educated a little bit more about the way Palestinians were treated in general. And then I just saw the shift suddenly, where suddenly all my Jewish friends were so resolute and like you cannot criticize Israel and Israel's actions.
After October 7th?
Yeah, after October 7th. And obviously, like, there's week one where it's like, you can't be, you'd be a fool to be surprised that people were acting foolishly. But I think I was right. That was when I was coming to my political awareness and learning about the response to 9/11. This is like in the middle of me listening to, I think the podcast is called Blowback.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like understanding more deeply. It's not like for the first time, but being like, oh, this is what happens in the face of like an attack is this immediate nationalism that functions to excuse war crimes and actions that are improper.
And it's so powerful. It's like a wave bowling you over. I mean, I was in college in the post 9/11 years, and I just remember it being like, I wasn't incredibly politically aware, but it was like irresistible. It was, you couldn't even argue with it. It was just sweeping everybody along, and people either, swam with it or fought against it fruitlessly and just were born along by it.
And just like things, knowing, oh, this crime was or something was invented as a crime to excuse a horrible action, just the way propaganda works.
Yeah.
Just an understanding of propaganda. And again, it's like, I really don't claim to know, you could fail me on a test pretty quick about like the history of Israel and the history of Palestine. But what I did see was American Jews falling and endorsing propaganda of, you can't criticize a foreign state without being an anti-Semite, and going like, this is so obviously false. This equivalency is so detrimental to being a Jewish person to go like, as a Jew, I endorse this foreign country's entire military agenda. And it was just crazy, frankly, crazy. And at a time where, if you have a good point, you could easily be labeled an anti-Semite. I go, well, I am a Jewish person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel I have the backbone and the authority just by being a Jew to speak honestly and speak harshly. to speak harshly about hypocrisies and bullshit in a way that, in the last, I started getting some emails, people going like, you're not Jewish or whatever, saying you're not really Jewish. And it's like, you can't get me like that. I was chased down every high holiday saying, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? I was told you're Jewish. I mean, everything was about you're Jewish. You're not going to trigger my guilt or shame or identity.
Yeah.
This was the rules. And my mom is Jewish.
Yeah.
So like, forget about it.
Yeah.
These are the rules. And the same way that I see very recently, it was a Holocaust memorial, I believe in LA, where they said, genocide isn't just against they released a post, generic, but in this context, you could feel where they're saying a genocide is not just a genocide against Jews. And it was a bunch of hands holding each other, and one had, the tattoo. And then they had to retract it. They had to retract the statement that said essentially like genocide doesn't just mean against the Jews. And because so many people complained, and I go, that's the capitulation to the propaganda that I am, as a Jewish person, I just feel I can stand on my 2 feet and shout, fuck off, fuck you, this is bullshit. And as a comedian, it can be tough because when I think about my comedy, I do think when you're trying to speak in a way where you're saying, I'm right.
Yeah.
It's not always funny because your punchline is predictable. The punchline is, and so I think about my comedy differently where I'm like, first, listen, if you want my preachy self, like follow me on Twitter. You'll get the non-comedic version of me. But I think like with that of being a Jewish American, like I try to incorporate in my comedy where I often think that my setups are where you're going to get who I am as a person, and the punchlines are going to be funny. I think the joke that I'm proudest of as like a writing perspective is I'm a trans ally. I ran into my old college roommate. They told me they had recently transitioned, and I was thrilled because I had forgotten their name. And it's like what I like about it is like the joke is I'm a trans ally for the most egotistical personal reasons possible.
Yeah, it's a great joke about you. Part of the surprise is it turns it back on yourself.
Yeah, but it's the setup. I go, I'm a trans ally, and the punchline isn't transphobic, and the setup says who I am. And if you can't assess that I don't support trans people just because I forget names, that's on you. That's on you. It's not my job to like make sure you know
I don't think
that
anybody's making this mistake.
Sure,
based on that joke, but yeah.
But it's like that's how I see. And by the way, I even see like I would say even on the inverse, I see a lot of like I would argue a lot of transphobic like I don't even think that joke is like a trans ally joke. I think I am a trans ally, and I made a joke that involved transness.
Yeah,
and I think like same way on that. I think there's bad, left-leaning, liberal, whatever comedy. I think when you have a joke that's transphobic, it's not surprising if the punchline is just, and that person's crazy, and that person's not actually trans, and that person, it's like, well, that's not funny. That's expected because that comes from what is your point of view?
Yeah.
There's no twist. You just shared your opinion.
Well, and so many comics who do jokes about trans people, the subtext you can tell is that they literally have never met a trans person.
Of course.
That they don't have any experience with, I mean, your joke seems to illuminate, is at least about the experience of having somebody come out to you or transition,
yeah.
right? It's like as a social experience that is a common one that one might have.
Yeah.
But like so many comics are doing jokes where they're doing it based on what they imagine a trans person to be, based on what a joke they heard another comic
And
make.
it makes it less interesting because, listen, I have other jokes that I wouldn't as casually just say, where I go like, it does feel even a little edgier. And it's about like, it's about someone specific. It's about something specific. God is in the details. Good comedy is in the details. And I go like, instead of writing, if you're some Austin comic, instead of writing some joke about the generic trans person writ large as you perceive them to be, why don't you joke about the Joe Rogan who you meet Like, is he a guy anymore? He has more testosterone than any other man. Is this not a new thing? Like something specific is funnier.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me about trans people. Tell me about your trans friend
Yes.
or your trans enemy, but
Yeah.
not trans people, because that's you're speaking in such a broad brush. You're never going to say anything new.
Yeah.
And so like I don't think good art is inherently progressive. I do think good art is inherently detail oriented, and I subsequently believe knowing things in detail makes you a more empathetic, caring human being.
Yes.
But again, I think there can be great art that is terrible morally per se, but it's at least specific.
Yeah. I mean, I do a couple jokes on these topics. I think the audience can tell that like I have personal experiences,
Yeah.
you know, with trans folks, with queer folks. They're like informing the joke. It's like I don't need to go, oh, and by the way, I'm an ally, right?
Yeah.
Not that you are either. But it's just like it's suffused in there.
Yeah.
And as like the empathy is there. I also want to say, I think like you doing jokes about Israel Palestine as a Jewish person, I think is important. Like I also had a lot of Jewish friends. I'm not Jewish. I had a lot of Jewish friends or people in my social circle or in entertainment, you know, who went really hard, you know, in support of the state of Israel's actions. I also had a lot of Jewish friends who were like, as soon as October 7th happened, their first reaction was like, this is going to be really bad. You know, something really bad is about to happen, and they were right.
They were 100% right.
And I'm really grateful to those friends who like, because, you know, there's a lot of conflicts in the world. It was not the one that I was the most read up on.
Yeah.
Foreign policy. I know a lot about a lot of things. Foreign policy, global affairs are not like a specific area of study for me. Not quite a gap, but it's something that I'm, you know, I was not read in on October 7th.
Yeah.
I knew about the historical injustice, but not sort of the deeper dynamics. And to have folks just be like, oh no, there's a lot of propaganda that like, get ready for it,
Sure.
you know, was really important and helpful. But also like, I also remember there was a good 6 months where, especially in the entertainment industry, it was really hard to talk about this stuff. I had friends who literally were dropped by their reps, by their agents.
I know one of them.
We'll probably know the same one. For posting Instagram stories, for doing fucking add to story on like BBC posts and shit like that, and got screamed at by reps and dropped. Like I was more
talk
about actual censorship, you know?
Of course. And I always remember, I try to keep it slightly vague, but I remember Chappelle, again, another comedian where it's like, he was on SNL, but he was mentioning a lot of Jews being in Hollywood, and he was making a joke, and he was being a comedian, and the next day, a Jewish friend of mine in the industry was saying like, yeah, I've been texting with my other industry about just how inappropriate, my other industry friends about just how anti-Semitic was, and I said, everyone in this chat Jewish? It's like, yes, and it's like the obviously the conspiracy of the blanks run blank, the Jews run Hollywood. That's a conspiracy. There are a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood, and when those in power, the moment someone posted something pro-Palestinian, fired them, I go, well, you've reinforced the conspiracy you've reinforced this conspiracy, and it's not it's no one runs anything. That implies like a almost godlike belief that things are run. You know, like there's some meetings and everyone's on the same page. Nothing is run that smoothly in the world. Nothing is run. Conspiracy just I'm like, have you ever tried organizing a game night? People aren't so organized that they can run a whole industry. But
like diasporas of all ethnicities are unevenly distributed and have concentrations of certain people in certain areas and in certain industries.
And some of those reasons were because there was an anti-Semitic time where Jews could only do this or do that. Yeah. And then you go, oh, they're all cheap. And it's like, yeah, we could only work. They always want money. It's like, well, you only let us be lenders. So yes,
Yeah.
You only let us be lenders, so we're talking about money a lot, and we're good with money.
Yeah.
And it's like, not all of us, not genetically. It's just it was the only job we were allowed to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if it's like if white people run golf. Like it's like there's a lot of things that led to that point.
Yeah.
And so when Jewish people of power are like firing people, I mean, for expressing this, it goes. I go, well, you're reinforcing the stereotype. You are creating the sense that Hollywood has a overall political agenda, and it's gonna bite you in the ass. And you're ultimately gonna side with, by the way, a lot of real anti-Semitic people who do believe that there should be one place all the Jews go.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just and I don't know. I just think there also was like an energy of, you know, whether it is gay rights, trans rights, race related stuff. I'm a straight white guy, and there's always been a figuring out like how do I talk about certain topics from my own perspective, and there have been worlds where it feels like careful. Or if you fuck up a little here, you're going to be in big trouble or whatever. There was eras where social media made it you could get in big trouble for something or whatever. And which is a comedian's job, to understand the nuances of society and navigate them and walk the tightrope. But there was a freedom to a degree for me to more fully express my own heart and mind on this matter because I am a Jewish person. And in a time where it felt like a shocking, to me, number of Jews were very kind of in the party line when it came to Israel, I was like, well, what is a comedian's job but right now?
Yeah.
And with the social status that I have as a Jewish person in this arena, just shout at the top of my lungs with jokes that feel like it shakes it up a little.
I'm not going to ask you, how do you write a joke about something? Because I get asked that shit all the time. How do you write a joke about something tragic? But like, it is probably about the hardest topic to write jokes about, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Again, I think like sometimes people go, oh, I thought you were going to talk about Israel, Palestine more. And I'm like, right now I have like one joke that like, again, the punchline is wild and not a policy proposal. And the setup expresses my views.
Yeah.
And that's all I got right now.
Yeah.
It's
some topics you just get one good one. You're like, that's the thing I'm going to say. Time to move on. I
don't write a joke about a tragedy. I write a joke inspired by a tragedy. You know? Because it's tough to write a joke about the thing.
Yeah.
But I think the classic joke, and I know this is aged poorly in multiple ways, but the classic inappropriate joke was they say that Louis C.K. wrote the first like 9/11 joke in New York, and he said, I think you can tell how good a person you are, how long you waited after 9/11 to masturbate. And he said for him it was between the first and second towers. And it's like, that's not a joke about, oh, people died. That's a joke about a human being's response to this awful thing happening in front of them.
Yeah.
That they still jerk off.
Yeah.
And that they and the surprise being, this is how soon it was, you know? And to diagnose it is to make it unfunny. But it's like, the joke is not about 9/11. It's about what it is to be human when 9/11 happens.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Man, the number of times someone brings up a Louis joke and I'm like,
Okay. We have to be able to just say a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I still do the quibbling and the whatever and the, you know.
No, it just makes me sad every time.
Yeah.
It just bums me out. I'm like, yeah, man. Only he had been able to write that kind of joke about himself.
I mean, I'm more bummed about this Saudi Arabia comedy festival, to be honest. I think like that's a lot of comics on that list. There's a lot of comics going to this festival.
Yeah.
And I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
What don't you love about it?
I think it's like, again, it's a government sponsored event. It's for a very clear purpose. It's to send like an image that things are good, things are chill here. Look at all these edgy people we have. Mm-hmm. And even worse, I think it's like, you know, if you go there as a comedian and you're not bringing up Khashoggi in some capacity, and I understand there's plenty other things to talk about, but Khashoggi is just a if I'm a comedian thinking of what's something the whole audience is going to know.
Start with that.
Start with Khashoggi. It's like, first of all, I think certainly if you're going to do it, you better come up with something commenting on this. But secondly, it's like, I bet you it'll be fine. But if any of the people in that audience were to say that joke later, it might not be as fine. And I don't know, a government spot. I think comedians should not be as hand in hand with the government. I know we all want money. I know we all want power. I know we all love the lights, but I think we always have to question when we're too close to the decision makers, because did you want to be a comedian or did you want to be a government employee?
You know, I did a show with Barack Obama.
I know.
Right. And I had qualms about doing that in the way that I made my peace with it. First of all, it's like Barack Obama, did he do many things I take issue with? Yes, of course.
Yes.
Right. Am I generally culturally and politically aligned with Barack Obama in many, many important ways? Yes.
Sure.
So it's not a huge conflict.
If we have to split the world up into two parties,
exactly.
we are limited in our options.
So those people could say, you know, hey, well, you did that. Why don't I do the same thing, right? Like maybe they don't disagree with Saudi Arabia that much. I don't know. Or you know, maybe they don't disagree with JD Vance, and that's why they'll go, you know, fly across the country to take a photo with him and interview him. But also part of the way I made my peace with it was whenever I'm entering into a project like that, I think, what is the thing that nobody expects me to be able to say? What is the thing that's hardest to say? And that's what I'm going to do. And so we did a 5-minute segment about unmanned drone strikes. We had a drone strike. We alluded to a drone striking a wedding, right? We talked about the growth of that program under the Obama administration and what a horrible thing it was. And it took a lot of rounds of revision to get that through, but we fucking did it. And would it have been a little bit spicier with someone else's company? Probably.
Sure.
We still did it. We took it as far as anybody was fucking going to do on that show.
Absolutely. And I think there's always an argument to be made to participate with the system to send a message. I just think it's so easy. And we've seen time and time again where people think they're doing that, and they're just softening the blow.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this. And again, it's like, who knows? You did your best in this world.
There are definitely people who thought that that's what that was, you know?
Sure.
Not in my view is my, best judgment I could make as an artist in that particular year.
Of course.
But at least I made a fucking effort, and I didn't just say,
I agree.
I didn't just say, who gives a shit if I take the money?
I agree. I think that's the finding that line is always going to be a struggle, because I also, as much as I can relate to some people I follow that are so leftist, I go, oh, you don't ever want to get anything done. You never want to get anything done.
Yeah.
And I go, if you really believed in this, you would take, it's harsh to say, you would commit violence against the state if you really believe this, you know? It's like, and if you aren't willing to do that, this thing that you want is not occurring in this world. So what is your point?
Yeah.
What is your existence? But I just think we've also seen a lot of people soft challenging, and then before you know it, you're rubbing the next president's hair on NBC, and you go, fuck, this is bad.
Yeah.
I think Trump being on SNL, it's kind of it can't be overstated. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And
I mean, Lorne Michaels is a conservative. It's, it's crazy, but also it was just they wanted to book him. To me, that wasn't even soft, let's just have him on for fun. It was just supporting the guy.
Yeah. And it's just, and I'm sure there's the counter argument. It's like, and then you make fun of him. And it's I think what I find so frustrating about just because what Andrew Schultz there's a view that comedians, we always have power. If I could challenge him later. I think with Trump there was this thing, at least what he said in some interview, of if Trump didn't keep the promises he said on his podcast, he'd hold him to task or whatever. And I think I go, we're all in this world, we're all chess pieces. We have very specific moves that we can make. Comedians, there's rare pockets of time that we can criticize something and that it works. And in this moment of an upcoming election with this motherfucker, all you can do is help him. And after that help is done, none of your things can change the fact that he now has power for 4 years and will appoint judges and will deport families and will take away trans rights and gay rights and just destroy our country in such a deep way.
Yeah.
And so I'm not gonna oh you changed your mind or you're criticizing now. No, you had a pocket of time and you used that in I think a very poor way. I think anyone can earn something back, but I go, that was the moment. That was the moment of the moral decision to be made.
Yeah.
And again, like for my podcast, not that it matters, not that anyone's asking on the politicals front, but I'm like, right now we're like no politicians, period. Because I don't feel equipped at this moment or know how I feel about what my role is in relation to those politicians. However, I would do a fundraiser for Zoran. But even some of the people that I like, I'm like, I don't want to have them
on the show
because it's right now. I'm not in a place where I feel educated enough in this arena to challenge them in a way that I think a politician should. I think a politician and comedian should be enemies. I think Michelle Wolf deserves so much more praise than she even got that they ended the comedian segment at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think there really is nothing more of an honor to in that his time in history to have them go, no more comedians here.
Well, they had Trevor Noah a couple years later. I remember because I was at that one. But
sure,
but
they
ended it for a few years.
But they ended for. I mean, but again, it's that pocket of moment. It's not forever. It's not this. It's not that.
Yeah.
When does a comedian do something? Lenny Bruce, there was a time where he did something where it's not brave to go on stage and say fuck shit piss balls now, but Lenny Bruce did it at a time where he got in trouble for it. Is there going to be the comedian that goes to the Saudi Arabia festival and gets thrown in jail? They go so hard, they don't even do an hour of comedy?
Yeah.
Then I'll go, hey, good on you.
I mean, yeah, when talking about these comics who had Trump on their podcast, a lot of it was also because they thought he was going to win. And they were right,
course.
And so there's no bravery in that. Maybe they didn't say that there was, but like,
and maybe Kamala could have done it, and maybe Kamala should have done it. But I just go, I still, regardless of that, I think about the things that you brought up with Trump, and I said where Trump was on Schultz's podcast with Theo Vaughn, I go, how could you not bring up Epstein? How could you not bring up Epstein?
Yeah,
and the response in a private conversation that was lied about publicly, so I feel comfortable talking about it. It was like, well, it's been asked and answered. He's addressed it. And I go, well, then you bring it up again. when Shaggy says it wasn't me, you don't go, okay, moving on. You go, how is that not you?
Yeah.
You bring it up again.
It hasn't been asked and answered. It keeps coming up now, literally as we're speaking today.
Now there's the turn of like, yeah, he's got some more answers. No, he had answers before. You needed to ask all the time. How could you, as a comedian, get the next president, the former president and the next president on your fucking couch on camera and not use that opportunity to ask a brutally embarrassing question because you want to get invited to the next thing, because you want the next politician to come on your show? What Adam Friedland did with Richie Torres was incredible. I doubt a politician will ever go on his show again. Yeah. And I go, he used a moment. He used the pull that he had, the crazy booking that happened to come through in that moment to have an incredible comedic thing. And it might mean that no one will come on that show anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll inspire, probably not because the world is a fucking mess. It would inspire every interview show to get a little harsher in their questioning and a little more insistent on challenging someone's humanity.
Yeah.
So I go, that's an act of bravery. I go, Michelle Wolf, and to have the future, to have the nominee with all his fucking dreadful policy positions, and to not, as a comedian, to not bring up pedophilia. I mean, you're disgracing the art form.
A subject that's funny that the audience wants to hear about. That is like one of the main
answered
things.
It once.
Yeah.
Wait, each picture, go, what was this party? What was that party? What was this? How old was she? How old was she? How old was she?
Yeah.
I mean, it is just a president should not. I remember when Obama did Between Two Ferns, I had a friend. This is like on the other side of things, and this is always the thing that you have to ask yourself. I remember when Obama did it. I had a friend who was like, I don't like this, and at the time I was like, shut the fuck up. We got to win, or we're like, this is good. And then I go, and then you look later and you go, oh, maybe it isn't good in the long term, because now comedians and celebrities can be written off as like, Democratic shills or whatever. Like, it's, or is that the moment you do spend your card? Should you have politicians? Should you engage them in entertainment this deeply? I don't know. I don't know the answer. And I certainly don't think I'd be perfect, but I think when you got the next president on your chair and you're a comedian, to just put out a kind of mildly entertaining episode.
Yeah.
Lame.
Yeah.
It's lame.
Yeah.
And that was the moment. Maybe there'll be other moments to make up for it, but that was a moment. And I see that as an abject failure. Let's put aside politics. I mean, let's put aside values. That was a comedian choosing to be a propagandist.
Yeah.
And it's all on film.
It's not even serving comedy. Like, there's nothing like the funniest thing to do.
I would ask, why do you want to have the politician here? Is it because you want to make something funny, or is it because you like there's something entertaining about being close to power? And it's like, fine, but if you're close to that power, question it. Be the comedian.
Yeah.
Don't cower in that moment. And that's why, by the way, sometimes I go, maybe I'm not going to have a politician until I feel that I'm ready to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not casually, I'm not saying Jimmy Fallon. I don't think the Tonight Show is like the right setup for Jimmy Fallon to have been like, hey.
Well,
but they don't have him.
You're pointing out, first of all, we're in a different political moment as far as comedy and politics goes.
Yeah.
And so, Jimmy Fallon rubbing Trump's head and, Trump on Theo Von look old in the same way that Slow Jam the News with Barack Obama and Obama on Between Two Ferns, like they all look old in the same way.
Yeah.
They're like a little too comfy, and we don't want that at all right now. But I also think, like, for your own part, like as someone who does try to do this occasionally and have like politicians on, and I still look, the show that I did with Obama was like, again, I thought really hard about how to do it in a way that I thought was honest.
Mm-hmm.
Am I sure I got it right? No. It was still, I'm still proud of the work.
Sure.
But you have to at least try. That's the point. Like you're right if you say, okay, I'm not equipped at all to do it in this current format. But like, you can't be certain that you're gonna live up to the highest ideals of what a comic should be every single time.
Of course.
But you should at least try to make the person uncomfortable. When I interviewed Obama on the show, and it's in the final episode, I tried to get him pissed off at me.
Sure.
A man who I was all about in 2008 and had a complicated, almost like psychic father-son relation. I was like, I have to have an interview where I piss him off, know? And I did piss him off, and he went, and it like hurt me when he did.
Yeah.
But I was like, I got to push a little further. And, again, how far can you go in that situation? I went as far as I possibly could.
Sure.
And that's the only way I sleep at night, was because I made an attempt. And that's what is really sad
and
about
also, but
watching
it's also the
They didn't even
circumstances are
try.
different. Like I think the circumstance, if he was running for office again, and you were right before the election, I go, well, the circumstances are even different. I think I would go like, maybe I'd go, you'd have to go harder by my standards. And then after the fact, it's different. I mean, these are different times in history.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just blanket, every time I see AOC, I go, why haven't you criticized Israel even more?
Yeah.
There's moments.
But if you're going to have any whiff of the comics privilege of being a edgy truth teller, of being like, of saying the thing that other people can't say, you have to at least try when you have the opportunity that you're saying.
And
Right?
it's just a matter of we just, again, like I think kind of classically of the jester in with the king, it's like you're in the room, but if you have a chair next to the king, you're not the jester anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I just think a lot of this is just a consequence of a lot of us comedians have been able to get a lot more money. There's a lot more money in some of this stuff, and money corrupts.
If you piss people off the right way, you can't, like, I do a fair number of like nonprofit or corporate speaking engagement, like a couple a year, you know.
Mhm.
Most of the time I'm just hosting or doing something at some panel in LA.
You open for Hillary?
I did before we started rolling, I was talking about I did a marketing conference years ago that wanted me to talk about millennials. And so the approach I took was, this is bullshit. Millennials don't exist. You guys are condescending to people.
Yeah.
I did a climate summit. There's a Hollywood climate summit that they ask me to do almost every year in LA. I did it this year, and it was on like how media can solve the climate crisis. And I talked about, this is bullshit. The fact that we're even talking about, how can a plot line in a sitcom help address the climate crisis is just proof of our complete, inability to do anything.
Yeah.
I try to go into those events and question the premise of why I've been invited and the unspoken presumption that everyone else there has. And when I do that, it's a fucking hit every time.
Yeah.
People come up and they go, oh, that was the only good talk the whole weekend.
Sure.
Because you were I was blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, you piss off a couple of people, but like that is the comics approach. Yeah. And like all those people who were, talking about here, they would have gotten more cred had they done that.
Yeah.
Into Trump's face or to JD Vance's face.
Even just a fucking little.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's so noxious where Theo Von, like, he will talk about Palestinians in a very empathetic way where he's moved to tears. And then a month later is just like chatting it up with JD Vance and like having fun with the guy. And
well, JD Vance is powerless. He can't actually do anything about Israel Palestine.
Sure, but just like I'll hang out with you. I mean him endorsing these comedians. I also go like with these comedians, I'm like, part of comedy is the ability to go, I was just joking. And I go, okay, if you want to hold on to that, if you want to hold on to the beautiful freedom of, I'm just joking, don't endorse a Secretary of Health. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. No one, by the way, no one was asking. No one was asking you, Theo Von. No one said, before we decide.
Did he literally endorse RFK?
Oh my God. Then again, recently with the new hearings, is JD Vance being like, these liberals, they don't want us to put these untested vaccines, but they're fine, like with genital mutilation, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, true, 100%. And then I go, you chose this. Yeah. You decide to engage. So when one kid dies of preventable measles, you are no longer can go, I'm just joking. You decided to enter the arena of the serious.
Yeah.
You were a comedian. You got famous off comedy. And you cultivated enough fans that still listen to you for some other things. No one should come to me for medical advice. You entered the arena of the serious. And when there are consequences to that and you want to check out and be dumb again and talk to the Rizzler, I'm gonna go fuck you. I'm gonna go fuck you. Yeah. And I think there should one day, maybe, you go to the comedy club and there's enough people there who aren't just your fans that you get booed. Because a kid died off the vaccine plan of the guy that you endorsed.
Yeah.
Don't endorse a Secretary of Health.
I wish I could talk to the Rizzler on this show.
Sure.
I would really. I just started thinking about the Rizzler. I agree with you. But the whole I'm just joking thing really bugs me from comics in the first place because, like, sure, I will tell a couple jokes that are like completely absurd flights of fancy. Most of the time when I'm telling a joke, it does reflect something I actually believe.
Sure.
And that is why the audience likes it, is because there is truth value. There is no just joking. That was always a nonsense deflection.
Sure. I mean, listen, it's again, like some people have comedy that's even more absurdist and more sillier. Some people really want to go for the quip. They just want to be like, bah, say something. And sometimes they lean on the edge of something to do that, whatever. But you can't have that flippancy and then engage in something that has real material consequences.
Yeah.
You know, you start, it should stick to you in some capacity. And I think it will eventually.
Yeah.
And it's deserved. It's deserved. It's humiliating. It's humiliating for comedians to like support power, to run, you know, to help with the people in power stay in power. That is the fucking opposite of the whole fucking enterprise of comedy. It's not funny. And when these same group of comics go, oh, best George Carlin, best ever dude, I go, he'd hate you. He'd fucking hate you. He's spitting on you from his grave. So I don't know. It's just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. And I do think there's some comedians who have, you know, in hindsight, I guess, somehow thought getting rid of undocumented immigrants wouldn't entail horrible actions.
Maybe they thought it
people
would,
that
and
they
they
thought were
supported
friends. And maybe they turn around and go badmouth the guy or whatever, and go have, you know, Bernie Sanders on and you know, do whatever work you think is good.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge that, but I think you know, you had the moment and you used it to help the president get in power, and now you're tied to some of these actions. And you better be fucking loud in your critiques. You better be fucking smart and ruthless and funny to keep your fan base. But like, you own some of this.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost refreshing at the very least that we're no longer living in this world where people are saying there's no such thing as conservative comedy, and the conservative comics are no longer trying to pretend that they're anything but, and they're just like being openly, you know, at least we can sort of like dispense with the fiction, to a certain extent. It's
You just gotta stand by. I mean, I think a lot of times, listen, I'll always be the first to say that, of course, there's sometimes people collect around a joke they thought was bad and I think are overly harsh, or the punishments. There was an era. And again, it wasn't even the era. It was Twitter, and going viral on Twitter in a specific way at a specific time could ruin your life in a way that felt a little bit outsized, for sure. But I think there is a category of people where I'm like, oh no, the reason we don't want you to say that joke, or people have a problem with that joke, is because what is your belief behind that joke?
Yeah.
And that's the only reason you've liked that joke. And the people laughing at it are, because again, I don't ever want to feel, I can fall into the being on my high horse. I can get there. It's in me of like, you shouldn't do that.
A little bit?
You shouldn't do that. Yeah. But I look back at some of the ways I thought I was like, oh, they shouldn't do that, or that was bad to say. And I go, that's not the worst thing. It was an attempt at a joke, or just this bad attempt, or they're working on something. I never want to feel like I'm policing language. I am criticizing views.
Yeah.
And language is often a reflection of views. So
what are you trying to get across when you're on the road now? Is that how do we end this? I'm trying to, like, we were talking about other comics so much. I want you to say one more thing about, like, what are you trying to bring to audiences?
I go, I'm putting on a show. I don't leave. I always struggle. I went to the Edinburgh Fringe just to do it, and it was amazing. But I always struggled because I said, like, I don't have a thesis to a show. Like, I don't have a final conclusion. My job is to point out the flaws in conclusions.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I see as my, so I think, like, you know, I'm talking about AI, I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about the family, my divorced family, my current relationship. I really believe that I don't even see my comedy as, like, you know, I certainly have a lot of gay fans, and people who write, like, thanks for being an ally or whatnot. It's like, that's never the goal of my comedy. It's like, I'm trying to be a great entertainer,
Mhm.
I'm trying to be a great, funny entertainer. And I think I pro gay rights as just a being. And so the best thing I can do is just make great work.
Yeah.
That's my job, and my views will come through in that work, but I'm making comedy.
Oh yeah, man. That's what I'm trying to do. Where can people find you? Where are you going to be soon?
When does it come out?
God, I don't know. Next couple
good.
weeks.
Okay, as long as it wasn't right before my Tonight Show appearance.
Okay. It will have already happened. Your earth-shattering Tonight Show appearance. People are finally going to learn about you after you're on the Tonight Show.
He holds my card. He goes, "This next comedian loves talking shit about an incident that happened 6 fucking years. Give me a fucking break. Give it up for Gianmarco." He's got a special coming out on YouTube. The place anyone can upload anything. You can find me everywhere. I'm on the road. I'm going to be all over America, and then I'm sure by the time it comes out, I'm going to Australia, I'm going to India, I'm going to some parts of Asia. It's some places where I do have to submit a transcript in advance. Some places where I probably will not, where I have to decide if I'm going to bring up Palestine at risk of who knows.
You fucking better after this interview.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see the Singapore show. If you want to see me do some nice, clean family comedy, come see me in Singapore. I got a podcast called The Downside, and my special should be on YouTube September 19th.
Oh, yeah,
Check
man.
it out.
Thanks so much for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you once again to Gianmarco for coming on the show. I hope you loved that conversation. If you did, once again, patreon.com/Adam Conover, $5 a month gets you every episode of the show ad-free. For $15 a month, I might read your name in the credits. This week, I want to thank Chris Rezek, God King Engineer of Beaverkind, Quinn M. Enox, Shannon J. Lane, Nicholas Ratterman, Sagar Macher, and Misk Bits. Oh, one more. Let's read Serious Dinosaur. That's a really good one. Thank you so much for your support, Serious Dinosaur. If you want me to read your name or silly username at the end of the show, once again, patreon.com/Adam Conover. If you want to come see me do stand-up comedy on the road, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New York, Los Angeles, California, Brea, California, a bunch of other great cities as well. Atlanta, almost forgot. Des Moines, Iowa. We're adding new shows all the time. Head to adamconover.net for all those tickets and tour dates. I want to thank my producers, Tony Wilson and Sam Roundman, everybody here at HeadGum for making the show possible. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time on Factually.
That was a HeadGum podcast.